Tonight, the Women's Champions League quarter-finals commence. In this video, we look at how Real Madrid can make home advantage count against a difficult Arsenal side, and why Bayern might be able to edge out an invincible Lyon team. This is our UWCL quarter-finals preview. Alright, let's get into it. Champions League quarter-finals are upon us. Tonight, we've got two quarter-finals, so in this morning's video, we're going to be discussing both of those games. We're going to start with the earlier kickoff, Real Madrid versus Arsenal. Harry, an interesting matchup.
Yeah, very much so. I think with this one, it's a little bit different. A lot of people have their eyes on the later game tonight and the two games tomorrow. But I think Arsenal-Real Madrid is going to be a very, very interesting matchup. We've got a Real Madrid side who, overall have looked pretty decent this season. If you remember at the start of the Champions League, they took Chelsea all the way in that group game and were very close to beating or at least getting a point off Chelsea, who, as we know now, are still unbeaten in all competitions. So that was a really strong performance. And I remember watching that at Stamford Bridge and thinking, yeah, do you know what? This Real Madrid side, they're pretty decent. And again, they faced Chelsea twice, and they got blown away in the second half when they played them at home. But in that first half, they competed. So we've got a Real Madrid side who are very decent, got a lot of some high quality players, and have taken the game to some of the best sides in the world this season.
Yeah.
And then we've got an Arsenal side who, on their day, have looked phenomenal. They've got their top players who are firing on all cylinders, which we'll touch on in a moment. But overall, you've got a really strong informed Arsenal, despite the blip against Liverpool, against I think a high quality Real Madrid side. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, let's start on Real Madrid then, obviously the hosts. You mentioned there, obviously, they played Chelsea in the group stage. They won 4 out of 6 games, but I think it is worth noting they lost both times they faced Chelsea. Does that apply here in any way? They lost the only 2 times they faced Chelsea. They lost both those games. Arsenal, they're not Chelsea's level, but they are also a difficult opponent. It doesn't reflect well, I think, on Real Madrid.
No, what it shows is they aren't on that level, and we knew that already. We know they're not on that Chelsea, Barcelona, and Lyon level. But in terms of, I think as well, as you say, the fact they lost both times and the second time was pretty convincing for Chelsea. It doesn't just show they're not on that level. It perhaps shows they're a couple levels off that. And then when you consider the results they've had to Barcelona this season, they've lost 3-1 and 4-0 or 4 or 5-0. So that just shows that potentially they're 2 or 3 levels behind the top side.
They're on an aggregate score of it's 5-0, 5-0, 4-0, 3-1.
That is absurd. But what it shows basically
17 is that 17-1 over 4 games.
There's a massive gulf between Real Madrid and the top sides, and because it's so big, you feel like Arsenal slot perfectly into that gap. And that is perhaps something that is going to hurt Real Madrid in these games. But as I say, they're at home, which I think is crucial tonight because, and I think a lot of people agree, if they lose tonight and they've got to go to the Emirates and get a result, I think that's a lot to ask. But again, if they can get a result, if they can get a draw or get a win in front of their home crowd, then potentially next week they can use it. But I think for Real Madrid, it's always the horrible way to do it, to be at home first leg and travel away second leg. You never want that in a 2-legged tie, but they've got to focus on 90 minutes tonight, get a good result.
Yeah, they drew at the weekend, but that doesn't really bear any meaningfulness because they played a rotated side there. We expect it to be the full-strength team in this Arsenal game. I thought, Real in their games against Twente looked really strong. Basically, whenever they did, and Celtic as well, whenever they didn't play Chelsea, they've looked good. But the problem for me is, based on the evidence, they've lost every game they've played to Barca this season in convincing fashion. They lost both the games against Chelsea. I just don't think that reflects particularly well on them. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on in this game. I think they are a good side. I think they will give Arsenal a match, but their record against the top clubs isn't flattering. Yeah,
again, I think tonight and next week will probably come down to the individual quality that Real Madrid have. If someone like a Linda Caicedo or a Bruno or can Leopolds dictate the tempo in the midfield, can the big game players step up and deliver? Because Real Madrid have got some players in this side who, on their day will be very hard to handle.
Yeah.
But we just haven't seen it enough, especially in the big games, from this Real Madrid 11. Because on paper, it is, I'm not saying it's competitive with the big sides, but it's not, 5-0 loss worthy. Like when you look at Real Madrid and Barcelona on paper, you wouldn't suggest that would be a 5-0 win in Barcelona's favour. You'd expect it to be closer because of the, Real Madrid have got a few elite players. They've got players participating for top nations who have won top trophies. So they are a good side. They know what it takes to win. If individuals step up tonight, then perhaps they could get a result. but it'll be interesting to see.
I think that is the key part, though, because I don't think that I think they've got very, very good players, but I don't think they've got elite players. I think that is the distinction. There is there's no one on the Real Madrid side who I'd say is in the top 5 in their position, whereas Barcelona, it's across the board. And so there is a huge distinction there. I think it reflects poorly as well on the Liga F when you've got the second place side in Liga F facing the second place side in the UWCL, and it looks like a leg where most people would be able to predict the outcome.
Yeah.
Now, maybe Real Madrid will surprise everyone and play really well, but I don't think it reflects particularly well. Let's talk about Arsenal. Second in the WSL. They're on a very good run. How would you describe Arsenal's chances coming into this one?
Yeah, I think Arsenal will fancy themselves with the draw initially done. I think out of all the clubs, they were probably the happiest to draw Real Madrid.
It's the nicest tie, which again doesn't look great for Real or for the league.
Yeah, and I think that for Arsenal, they are on a very, very good run. And I think because they lost to Liverpool in the FA Cup, a lot of people have gone into a little bit of a meltdown around Arsenal. And Arsenal fans want to sell 2/3 of their squad, and they're going crazy. And Slagers has gone from being exceptional to not being good enough, and I think everyone just needs to calm down. They showed against Everton that they're still a top side. They are on a brilliant run in the league. That's why they find themselves getting to second place in the most recent game week. So Arsenal are a top side. They've got some top players. Yes, they lost to Liverpool, but that was an FA Cup. Arsenal rotated, and Liverpool, well, at the moment Liverpool are beating everyone, so that's certainly nothing to be ashamed of. So for Arsenal, I think again they did rotate, to be fair, against Everton on Friday night, so it should be full strength tonight against Real Madrid. I'd expect players like Cooney Cross, like Caitlin Ford to come back in. If it's a pivot of Vouty and Little, then Real Madrid might fancy themselves, because as we've seen in recent
all
weeks...
my money's going on Real Madrid. They'll just outrun them.
Exactly. There's no legs in that midfield. There's no progression in that pivot. So Cooney Cross, for me, has to come in, or Caldente has to be dropped deeper. If not, maybe Real Madrid. Because, again, I spoke about the likes of Leopold's in that midfield for Real. If it is a pivot of Vouty and Little, players like her will fancy themselves to be able to dictate this game. And then, it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But I think that Arsenal, I think they'll be a little bit reserved. They'll be a little bit nervy. Again, first leg, you're away from home. I think for Arsenal, it'll be about avoid losing.
Yeah.
Obviously they could. Arsenal got the ability, for me, to put a few goals past them. But if they do draw 1-1, I think they'd take that, because then next week at home, they'd probably just secure the deal. But they will look to put themselves in a good spot going into next week.
Yeah, I think they've had a good season, and we spoke about that Liverpool game, and I think there are some notable worries, but Arsenal are in a position where they've only lost 2 games in the league this season, and both of those were to Chelsea. They've only lost 1 game in the league under Renee Slagers. So I think that's really important to look at. But the problem for Arsenal is when you consider the bigger picture, they're out of the League Cup, they're out of the FA Cup, both before the final stage. I think it's really important, therefore, they get to the semi-finals in the Champions League.
Yeah.
I think if they can beat Real Madrid, prove their prowess, I don't realistically see them beating either Bayern or Lyon. Maybe if it's Bayern, they're close.
Bit of wind at Meadow Park again.
Maybe. And to be fair, they've beaten Bayern this season. I'm just thinking in a big game, in the knockout stage, Bayern win that for me.
Yeah.
In a game that came when Bayern were already through, where the conditions were a bit weird, I think on a normal day, Bayern win that game. I think with Lyon especially, that's a really tough game for Arsenal to get anything from. So, while I don't think they're going to get to the final, I think getting to the semis is really important to show that progression, to show where Arsenal are at. I think not only for the external factors, but also for internal, the fans, I think as well, for the players.
Yeah.
You've got players there now like Mariona Caldente and Alessia Russo who are going to want to win trophies. So I think if you can get into the semi-finals, you at least show those players that playing in the finals, winning competitions, it's not miles away.
Yeah.
It's just not just yet. So I think that's really important for the players, but also for the fans. The fans are going to demand a lot more. They've now not won the FA Cup in a decade. They've won 1 league title in that time. Yes, they won the Women's Championship. They're the only English club to have ever won the UWCL, but it's been 20 years almost since then. So I think it's really important for Arsenal that they get through this game, they get into the semi-finals, and they prove that they are now in the competition with the European elite.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. They've been handed a nice tie here. I think Real Madrid is the best tie they could have asked for. It's now on them to make sure they prove that they're right in that conversation with the best.
Yeah, if Rene Slagers and Arsenal can put themselves into the last four with Barca, Chelsea, and Lyon, say, that's an incredible set of teams to be in the same environment as in that last four. So that would be a big step. And as you say, I think for Arsenal fans to reach a UWCL semi-final, and you never know, over 180 minutes, could they find themselves in a final potentially? So yeah, I think it's very important though that they again don't start thinking ahead yet. You've got 180 minutes to beat Real Madrid. Go and get the job done.
Yeah, indeed. I think as well, both sides. What's going to be interesting is to see how they line up. Both sides of the season have used 4-2-3-1s in most of the games. So if the tactics are similar and it is becoming a game that's a bit samey, it's going to come down to individual quality. And I think Arsenal just edge it there. Real Madrid, though, do have players that can cause real issues in a moment. So I think they've got to be careful of that. Because, Signe Brun, quality player. Linda Caicedo, someone who can make the difference in an instant. They've got to be mindful of that. I think the midfield battle is going to be really important as well, because Real Madrid have got quality in there. They've got Angeldal, they've got Leopold, they've got Teresa Avalera. That's a really strong... Avalera's injured, of course. They don't have Avalera.
Big miss.
That's a big miss. But they've got a strong midfield regardless. That's going to be really important then, that Arsenal line up with a strong midfield and give them a go in there. Because if not, you will get overrun.
Yeah. This Real Madrid side put 2 goals past Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And I don't. There's not many sides, if any sides, that have put 2 goals past Chelsea this season. So credit to them. I think first leg will be. I think tonight will be pretty close. I think with that home advantage for Real, I think they'll make it difficult for Arsenal. But Arsenal, as you say, got a lot of quality, and if they get and create chances for the likes of Russo, she's in form, been absolutely incredible this season. She will deliver.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be a good game. I think, Russo, key player there to mention. She's been phenomenal in the WSL. This season, 10 goals in the league. I think if she can take that form into the Champions League, that's going to be really important for Arsenal. That is how they win this game. Caldente and Russo, I'd say, the 2 players will make the biggest difference. For Real, it's going to be a reliance on those attacking players. I think Castillo is very talented. Athenia, I can never remember which she prefers. But, Athenia, and then obviously... Linda Caicedo can have a huge impact. Signe Brun, a really reliable goal scorer. So they've got players in the front line who can cause issues. It's just whether or not they can hold off Arsenal.
Yeah.
In terms of a loose prediction, because we'll give a proper prediction on live stream tonight. Make sure to join us for that, by the way, from 5:30, a 5:45 kickoff. Ahead of that game, Harry, what is your prediction?
I think, as I said, Arsenal are probably stronger, but Real Madrid with that home advantage, with the fact it's a quarter-final, I think they'll be up for it. So I'll probably say a slim Arsenal win.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. I would probably say the same. I think potentially Real draw the first leg. I think that over the 2 legs, it's very difficult to see Real winning that.
Yeah.
So, but we will see. On to the 8:00 game then. Bayern Munich versus Lyon. 2 sides who are both sat top of their domestic divisions. 2 sides who are, Lyon unbeaten. In fact, they've unbeaten since the Champions League final back in May.
Yeah.
They've only drawn 1 game all campaign. That was to Paris FC. And a Bayern side who are top of the Frauen Bundesliga, which is a much more competitive league with teams like Wolfsburg obviously in there. Frankfurt and Leverkusen both been really good this season as well. So they had a bit more of a difficult time of it, but they have still only lost 1 domestic game this season. So both sides have had really strong league campaigns. So now coming into the UWCL in the late knockout stages, they'll be hoping that they can come in and give it a really good goal. See, Lyon hoping to right the wrongs of last year where they lost the final. Joe Montemuro has done really well with that side. Let's start with Lyon.
Yeah, Lyon have been phenomenal. As you say, they're one of only 2 sides that are unbeaten in all competitions this season, obviously with Chelsea. But as you say, they've only drawn 1 game, so technically they've got the best record out of any team in Europe this season, which is a testament to how well they're playing. I think there was a lot of questions after Bonpastor left was, can they maintain that standard? Yes, they've gone, and as simple as it's a yes. Joe Montemuro has come in and kept that Sonia Bonpastor level, if not raised it. They have been phenomenal because it's not just winning games. And we've seen, obviously Chelsea are unbeaten as well, but we've seen at times Chelsea have really struggled. They've had to
grind out.
Yeah,
results.
Exactly. Lyon have blown teams out of the water left, right, and centre. We streamed the game against PSG where they only won 2-0, but that could have easily been a lot more. They're a very, very good side, and I think PSG were competitive for the first half, but Lyon overall were in control. But yeah, they've been playing some incredible stuff, and again, we're talking big games, we're talking big players, we're talking a coach that knows how to win trophies. It's a perfect mix to go on and win the biggest trophy in Europe.
Yeah, and I think they're on the kinder side of the draw. They don't play Chelsea or Barca until the final stage at the earliest. I think that they'll look at the Bayern game, they'll look at especially a potential semi-final of Arsenal Real Madrid and say, that's a really kind draw.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance they go to the final again this year. They're also, they have that record of they've got the record for most of UWCL wins. They're a side who has a culture of winning, who have an understanding of how to win games. I think that and trophies, that's really important as well. I mean, you only got to look back at the weekend just gone, an 8-1 win over Reims. That's ridiculous. So yeah, they've been really good this season. They're very dangerous in attacking areas, so that's got to be a worry. However they line up in attacking areas at the weekend, it was Melchi Dumonet, Ada Hegerberg and Kadadia Tautiani. If it is that front three, that's really threatening. If it is a slight difference, it's still going to be a really strong team. So it's going to be interesting to see how they line up. It's a 4-2-3-1 usually for Lyon, but they have used some slight differentiations on that at times this season. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. As I say, unbeaten since the UWCL final last season. They're really out with a vengeance.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. They were very frustrated to lose that game. It was Bonpastor's last match in charge, and again, similar to the way Chelsea felt with Hayes, for Lyon, it felt like one last dance. Let's go and end on a high. Go and win another UWCL title, and they fell at the final hurdle to a very good Barcelona side. But they want it more than ever to win this. Joe Montemuro is back in Europe, and he again wants to put his name onto that UWCL trophy. So they've got I think they, as you say, they've got a decent side of the draw and a really good chance. And again, the thing that makes Lyon so dangerous is they've got an incredible mix of experience but up and coming incredible talent, and it's something that sides don't have. You usually look at sides and go, well, they've got a wealth of experience, but in terms of those young up and coming youngsters, they don't have much of it. The level across this side for Lyon is absolutely perfect, but also the areas they're in. I would, they've got the experience at the back, which is exactly what you need. They've got the young up and coming talents in the front line. Yes, I say that, and they've still got the likes of Hegerberg and Le Sommer, but they're still young. Let's not be rude to them. And Renard calling out is experienced, but not old. But yeah, overall, it's a really, really balanced side, which makes them hard to beat because it's hard to come up with something that is going to test them at the very least, let alone beat them.
Yeah, it'd probably be Chewinga, by the way, in the front line alongside Diani and Smash Dumonet, which is really strong. However that midfield looks, it's going to be difficult to beat. You'd imagine Egarola, you would imagine it would be Lindsay Heaps, who is, I'm going to keep calling her Horan accidentally on the live stream, but there's, not a lot you can do about that. And then whether it's Marajan alongside her, it remains to be seen how Lyon will line up in midfield. But however they do, it could be De Brits as well. So they've got options in there. However they do, though, it's a really strong team. Joe Montemuro's got his side playing some really good football this season, and I think there is a really good chance they go all the way. Let's not write off Bayern, though, because Bayern Munich have been really strong this season. Current 6-match winning streak, their last loss coming at the hands of Arsenal, of course, that last Champions League group stage game. They've only lost one domestic game all season. That was to Wolfsburg. Sorry, they beat Wolfsburg, obviously, at the weekend. They lost to them earlier in the season, though, so that's their one domestic loss. Again, it's a 4-2-3-1. And for Bayern this season, we saw in the first game against Arsenal where they really took them to the cleaners. Fanila Harder, phenomenal in that game. They've got that ability to really show up and trounce teams. And I think Lyon have got to be mindful of not getting ahead of themselves. Bayern is going to be a really difficult game. They've been really strong this season. That we saw that last weekend with the win against Wolfsburg.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see them give Lyon a really tough match here.
Yeah, this has been a big year for Bayern because they've been pushed to the extreme. They've been really tested domestically. And while we see across Europe the league leaders are looking very comfortable, before they beat Wolfsburg this weekend, Bayern were in a really tough spot. They were in a real dogfight with the other three teams at the top. So
if they'd lost it, Wolfsburg would be level.
Yeah, and it's absolutely crucial to give themselves that 6-point margin. Is it 6 points now?
It is 6 points, but it could be 3 if Frankfurt win their game in hand.
So it's still really, really tight, despite the fact they've just beat one of their title rivals. So they're in a real dogfight, but the fact they're still ahead of it shows they're at that level, and that even when they have got to compete in all these competitions and compete on all fronts, they do really well. They won't worry about the DFB Pokal because they've got that is really kind due to the way the big side or the big sides already being knocked out. So for Bayern, full focus now will be on to winning that league, but also winning this UWCL.
Yeah.
And as you say, the quality that they carry is something that I don't think people realise. They've got those experienced players that you mentioned there, like Pernilla Harder, who in that Arsenal game, it felt like she was rolling back the years to when she was scoring goals against Arsenal for Chelsea, and it was really good to see. But they're a very, very good side. The recent not recovery, but Elena Erberdorf returning. That's the word. Returning back from her ACL injury is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
Perfect timing for Bayern Munich is that hopefully.
I don't think there's a chance she'll be involved in the first leg, but she could be in the second.
Yeah, and just overall in their UWCL hopes, it's absolutely massive. But that's the thing, as you say, tonight again is about keeping it competitive for Bayern Munich. They know how good Lyon are, and Lyon, yes, they have the ability to blow any team in the world out of the ground. Bayern will fancy themselves to get a result. Bayern are at home this leg.
Yeah, it's at the Allianz. So I think that can play into Bayern's hands. I think what goes against them is the fact that they are really competitive this season. They've got they played Wolfsburg last weekend, so they've had to play a pretty much full strength side. They've got a DFB Pokal final in between the two matches or semi final. It's a ridiculous schedule for them. Yeah, semi final against Hoffenheim, so they can't really afford to rest up, and that I think has an impact when Lyon are able to play weakened sides and win 8-1. Yes, it was still a fairly strong team. The defence was the same, midfield the same, but they were able to bring in Hegerberg rather than Chawinga. So, they were able to rest up, and they brought players off after 70 minutes. Renard, Bacca, Diani, Dumoulin. So they were able to rest up some players. I'm confused as to why they went as strong as they did, considering they won 8-1. But they've still got the opportunity to rest players up, which perhaps Bayern don't have that same opportunity.
Yeah, as you say, I think the way the scheduled fall doesn't help Bayern Munich, as you mentioned that DFB Pokal semi-final, although it is against Hoffenheim, which should be a pretty convincing win for Bayern Munich. It is still a semi-final. No one ever wants to rest up in such a big game, and the fact they're at home this leg, which the positive is it means that they should still be in with a shout going into the second leg. The negative is that if they do get a result, they then have to go to Lyon and get a result in the second leg. And sides going to Lyon have not got any results this season. I mean, even sides who welcome Lyon to their ground haven't got any results. So
no one has got anything against Lyon.
Paris
FC got a point.
That was a good point for Paris FC, to be fair. But yeah, Bayern Munich, again, it's a similar sentiment to what we're saying with Real Madrid. First leg, you're at home, use that home advantage and keep yourself in the tie.
Yeah, and as we're saying as well, Lyon, people go, well, they've won every game, but surely they didn't play any difficult games in the Champions League. They had the toughest group. So I think it bodes well for Lyon. I think this is a really good chance for them to go all the way. The fact that they have Bayern in this leg, I mean, go away like Lyon don't go all the way every year, but I mean, with the recent dominance of Barcelona, this feels like a good opportunity because Barca have got what is a more difficult, I would say, draw. The fact they've got to play Wolfsburg and then either Chelsea or Man City. Chelsea's probably the harder game there, but City, a side who beat them earlier in the competition. So that that's the more difficult side of the draw. I think Lyon should beat Bayern, should edge out Bayern, and then Arsenal or Real Madrid. Yeah, it could be a very kind semi-final.
That's the thing for Lyon. Their goal is to win. They are a side who come into this competition every season and expect to win it. So the fact that they haven't got their name on the trophy in the last couple of years will be an underachievement. They come into this year's tournament expecting to go all the way and win it. Reaching a final, reaching a semi-final isn't good enough. That's not the Lyon standard. So there will be and with the comfortability in the league now, there will be a massive concentration and a lot of commitment, making sure they do go all the way and they get their hands back on that trophy and take it off Barcelona.
Yeah, I think it's we're at a really obvious point, I'd say, at the moment in women's football, where if any of Lyon, if there's a final that doesn't involve two of Lyon, Chelsea, Barcelona, it feels like you'd be able to predict that final.
Yeah.
And I think at the moment those three sides are just clear of the rest. So the fact Lyon don't have to play Chelsea, Barcelona, I think there's a very good chance they get to the final. And the fact that they've pretty much already wrapped up the league, they've been really strong this year. I think they're in a position now where there's a very good chance that they can go all the way this year and better themselves from last season where they got to the final and lost disappointingly to Barcelona. So it's going to be interesting. Both sides have been very good this season, but I think Lyon will likely edge this one.
I think if we're doing predictions just for the first leg, I'll go a draw. I think it'll be even Stevens, Bayern at home, and I think they'll use that. Second leg, we'll see what happens.
Lyon will win.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that.
I've seen what's going to happen.
I will go for a draw in the first leg. The one thing I hate about two-legged ties, no matter what competition it is when the first leg is a complete blowout and then the second leg's pointless. So all I want to see, and it'll be the same for tomorrow, all 4 legs, I want to see all competitive...
not the Chelsea one. If Chelsea win 5-0, I won't mind.
No, I want to see all competitive games. I don't want to see any 3, 4, 5-0s because then what is the point in next week?
No, I get your point, but if Chelsea win 5-0, I'll be happy.
Yes, but I'm remaining neutral.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Make sure to join us live tonight. We'll be live 15 minutes before both kick-offs, so it's going to be pretty much a 5-hour-long live stream of Champions League action. Fun. So join us there. It will be good fun. Harry sounds optimistic for it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Gary, he is actually looking forward to it. So join us tomorrow. Should be good. Of course, as well, we are live on Wednesday for more Champions League action, and we'll be back tomorrow morning to preview those. So look out for those. Then on Thursday, we'll be reviewing it all. So come back and join us for that as well. That, though, does round up today's video. Make sure to go and watch the one that's on screen now and subscribe, of course, if you're new to the channel. That was everything today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.